What would you do if you could freeze time? Probably something cooler than being chased by a secret government agency in peak 2002 fashion.
Oh, yeah, that's funny, Zach. That's real funny.
Today, we're pausing the clock to ask the question, does Clockstoppers still have that early 2000s fun? Or has time finally run out on this one?
Whoa.
Plus, will Seth stump me on this episode's trivia question? Or will I find a way to cheat the system?
Was this the first Nickelodeon movie to be credited as a Nickelodeon Movies production? True or false?
Finally, we'll answer the most important question. How are we gonna rate it? Are you gonna take it home? Are you gonna watch it at Grandma's? Or are you gonna hide it in the attic? Set your watches, but stay out of water and get ready to slow things down. It's time to watch another movie at Grandma's. Hello, please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Welcome to Movies at Grandma's House, where we love to revisit the movies from our childhood to answer the question, does it still hold up? And is it family-friendly enough that even Grandma can enjoy? And I'm your host, Isaac. You know what I don't like? Getting kicked in the head.
And this is Seth. Make it so, number one.
It is great to see you, Seth. Just as a reminder for the ones at home, what is Grandma putting on for us to watch today?
2002's Clockstoppers.
There you go, folks. We are going to be looking forward to considering this one. But if you've never seen this film, we are going to be going into depth, talking about the details, the plot, all that good stuff. So from here on out, consider it spoiler territory. You have been warned. Well, let's get a little bit more information about this movie and some film facts. So Clockstoppers was released back on March 29th, 2002. It had a budget of $26 million. The box office, $38.8 million. Looking around at some reviews, IMDb is at a 5.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 29%. Letterboxd, 2.5 out of 5. Currently, as of this recording, you can watch it for free streaming on Pluto TV. It stars Jesse Bradford, French Stewart, Michael Biehn, and Paula Garces. I probably butchered that name, but many more included. It's an association with Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon Movies. And last but not least, we have to know, how does Grandma feel about this one?
Granny's family-friendly rating for Clockstoppers is a B for some adult themes.
Right, so a few things to look out for. It is a Nickelodeon Movies production, but there are a few things we'll probably talk about a little bit more as we get into it. But we'd love to hear from you if you've seen this movie. Be sure to leave your thoughts, your memories down below. We'd love to hear all that from you. So let's jump into this. I gotta know, this came back in 2002. So what are your first memories with Clockstoppers?
So, really, I saw this in the theaters, believe it or not. And I think I rented it a couple times. So it's not been completely too long since I saw it. I do remember having favorable memories of this one as well. So hopefully I kind of enjoy the rewatch.
Very nice. I'm the opposite. I didn't see this in theaters. I don't know if I really saw this all the way through. I recall Nickelodeon had it on the network. Again, this is a Nickelodeon Movies production. So they're obviously going to put it on their, rerun schedule or whatever. So I remember faintly catching it here and there in between probably episodes of Rugrats or, Guts, whatever was on the schedule. I kind of have those kind of memories. That's what I think of when I think of this movie. But with that said, again, this is going on now over 20 years ago. I just can't believe it. I just feel like time flies by. And I know we say that a lot, but what was your expectations coming back to this one?
Really just hoping it held up after all these years. My expectations weren't too high, but I do remember, like I said, had a favorable memories of this one. So
nice. I was just I'm coming into it fresh. So I just hope it's entertaining. It's going to have obviously some vibes of Nickelodeon. And I love that. I mean, take me back. I'll relive those times of just being a kid again, kids rule, those types of things. And of course, with my kids, that's kind of on the checklist. Hopefully they can enjoy it. We have a good time with it. And like you said, it holds up as much as I didn't see it at the time. It still can be something for modern audiences that they can enjoy. Well, before we get to Plot Rewind, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsors. Hey, love movies as much as we do? Then bring the experience of the theater to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into the classics, the blockbusters, or indie gems, they have something for every single film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can save up to 15% on your order right now. Just use code Grandma's House at checkout. head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today. All right, let's take the VHS out of the cover. Let's put it in the VCR and press play.
Zach Gibbs' biggest problem was that he wanted a car until he found a mysterious watch amongst his dad's inventions. Him and his new friend Francesca find out that the watch is able to nearly stop time. But there's a problem, people looking for the watch. Will Zach save the day before it's too late? Find out as we watch another Nickelodeon movie.
All right, that's a great summary of this film. It just hits you with that Nickelodeon vibe. That's to me, my impression. Like when I put this on, I was like, this really does feel like it could air on the Nickelodeon channel, almost like made for the network in a way. And I made a note. I was like, 2000 music soundtrack engage, because it just hits you with like Blink 182, like almost your 2000s punk. So man, it just is like a time capsule. It just took me back to 2000s. But I got to know, again, coming back to it, what was your first impressions with this film?
I have to say, besides the music, it was much cheesier than I remembered, but still fun. I still enjoyed watching the courting dialogue and the action sequences. We'll get into that.
Yes, it is on the corny side, I will say. There's a lot of just silly elements. It's kind of got serious elements to it where the plot is stopping time. So there's obviously getting into the wrong hands. There's kind of that hint of the dark side of this cool power of being able to stop time with your watch and falling into the wrong hands. What could happen? So it kind of goes there a little bit. It doesn't flesh that out as much as you'd probably expect, because again, this is aiming for the Nickelodeon, kind of family friendly. We'll talk about more. It's not all family friendly, but for the most part it is. And that is exactly what you're saying, though. It kind of is like this plot could go places, but it holds back a little bit. So it almost comes across cheesy at times. I do agree. But there's fun. I do agree with that. Just the idea is really interesting. It is unique. There's a lot of those types of time travel or time stop concepts, but just having a watch, just having something where you press a button and instantly stops. I think that's really cool. Just obviously for a kid, but even as an adult, I was like, that's kind of cool. What did you think of that element when it comes to the story and the plot?
So I thought it was a pretty cool plot. The concept was very well done, but the execution of the movie wasn't as good as the premise. That being said, a fun fact that I didn't write down, which I think is appropriate to this section, is that I believe Orson Welles wrote a book about time travel, and this was based on that, but yet it was a different kind of time travel or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? But it was loosely based on it. And I think that's where they got the great idea from, but just executing that idea wasn't as strong as I feel like they could have been. It's nothing due to one person's error. I feel like it was a number of errors that led up to making it not as strong as like I said, as it could have been.
Yes, that's a great point. I think it's a great concept. And I go back to, that's why it kind of feels more like a Nickelodeon TV network, like straight for TV, not like a theatrical release, if that makes sense. Where, yeah, it did kind of feel like there was a few missteps. Like I'll just say it right now, the special effects doesn't age the best. That's one thing you can say. But a lot of films are like that. Let's just get that out of the way. It's not like you're picking on this. It's just natural. A lot of these movies relied heavily on CGI. And at times it was good. Like, don't get me wrong. I was actually like, that's still pretty good. Like the bee, it kind of looked wonky at times, but then other times it looked pretty good. So it was just, that's a great point you say. It was just not executed quite how you'd hope it would.
Yes.
That's kind of what comes to my mind is the special effects. But is there anything specific you just thought was like, man, I wish I would have went a little farther?
I mean, so some of the action sequences were cooler than others. I feel like they were trying a little too hard to make it a cool movie. Which they didn't need to do. It was, the concept was there. Like it was, you don't have to try hard when it's there. And I feel like they were just every little step, they were trying to go a little bit further to making it cooler and cooler. And they didn't need to do that. They could have backed off a little bit. And I think it would have paid off a little more than what it ended up being.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Like I do enjoy the car chase. That was pretty cool concept. Like they bump into each other. And that's the whole premise is as long as you're touching someone else, they also will be in that time zone of it stopped. And even as small, that's a great point. I actually appreciated the smaller things. The ones where they tried to go all out, it was a little over the top.
Yeah.
But little subtle things I enjoyed because he's arrested and he's in the hospital and he goes into the bathroom and that's where he gets his watch to work again because it was in the water. That's another concept. If it gets wet, it'll ruin the watch. He gets it to work from the dryer and they're coming to get him, the government agency. He dresses up as one of the cops and it just remains frozen. it's so small, but it's a clever little like, yeah, that's cool. It makes it kind of like this thriller, like not spy, but it's more like that subtle. Not I don't want explosions all the time or this or that. Like you said, it didn't come across as well as it should have. I completely agree with you. But there's some fun to be had here and there. Now, with that said, you got to have good characters that go with the plot. So what did you think of the characters?
All right, I'm going to try to talk about almost all of them. So Zach was really cool. I love that he played guitar and that he wanted a Mustang, which is right up my alley.
That was you all the way. Yes.
Yeah. Francesca was well casted. I thought Dr. Doppler was funny. Meeker was a lot of fun. Maybe sometimes a little bit too much. We can get into that later. And then his mom and dad were also well casted. I thought this cast really did well for what they were given. And it's a little out there. Like the concept is a little out there. So it takes a lot of grounded people to pull that off. And I thought they did a good job.
Yes, it's a solid cast. And I agree. They did a good job with the material they were given. And at times that cheesiness did come through. I think that was more of a material thing more than the acting. I picked up on that because I'll be honest, there's a few times where it was like, that wasn't the greatest delivery, but it was also kind of a cheesy line or it was a cheesy dialogue going on where I was like, kind of like, that just didn't flow right. And I think that again, that's the material or the director. I don't have any problem with the casting though. Yes. I mean, French Stewart, that also took me back because he was everywhere being on Third Rock from the Sun and all these other little projects like this during the late 90s and 2000s. So I think he did a great job of kind of that snarky, sarcastic guy that gets pulled into this program of stopping time and he's aged. That's the other concept is that when you stop time, you're still aging. And you age rapidly, as a matter of fact. So he was great. I thought he was a great kind of play off of the cheesiness and everything going on there. I think that stuck out with Zach. I was thinking of you the whole time. I was like, oh yeah, he's got this flying V guitar. Like that's just awesome.
And then he went
I was like, Seth, that's totally Seth right there. I immediately thought of you.
I do not have a Gibson though.
It wasn't, was it? It was just that shape. It made you think
it was a Gibson. It was a Gibson Flying V. That's a very expensive guitar.
Okay. I was trying to look. I couldn't tell on the.
It was a Gibson. I checked twice.
Awesome. Because I think it's a Gibson, but I didn't catch if it was for sure. Because you know how they do that. Sometimes they'll like white out the brand, that type of stuff. But yeah, he's just your everyday, like, you know, he's trying to impress the girl, the lead girl there and everything. And she's that kind of not damsel in distress. She's kind of takes care of herself too. That's what I enjoyed. They're not just going to throw this prissy girl like, oh, I need help all the time. It's actually got some depth to it. So that's another thing I like about these characters. They're not going to blow you away. They're not these like amazing, you're going to remember them, but they move the plot along and they have fun with it too. You could tell that they were kind of having a little fun with it. At least I did a little bit, the lead actors especially, but French Stewart, I don't know what it was. It just seemed like he was having a good time with it. Like this is a different role for me.
if I could say real quick, I think you deserve a pat on the back because I think where they went wrong is that I just checked. There's 4 writers for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we have some good dialogue and we also have some bad dialogue. We have some good scenes and we also have some bad scenes. Because if they had 1 or 2 writers, it'd be more easy to be cohesive. When you have 4 writers, it's going to be all up and down. So, yeah, that's probably where they went wrong. We'll talk about Jonathan Frakes as the director. I think he did an amazing job with what he was given and turned out really well on his end. But the writing, I think, was good and bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
You kind of give it a little good, you kind of get a little bad. But that makes sense. Yeah. 4 writers. We don't want to point at specifics. Maybe it was a mixture, like one person, not just one person was bad and one person was good. Maybe it was a collective effort where they're trying to get.
Typically, you're trying to write something and then somebody else throws in an idea and it kind of spirals and, you know, that kind of happens. So I just feel like that probably happened a lot in this picture.
Yeah. Like, and the thing that comes to my mind is the DJ scene. That just didn't age well to me at all.
No, it didn't.
It was really clunky. That would be one I'd point a finger at. Like if you want examples of just something with the flow, it takes you out of the movie. They had a good momentum builder up to that point of showing how time worked. And I get it. You got to have like these side, like realistic, hey, his friend wants to be a DJ. So there's this DJ off or whatever you want to call it. But it was just the execution was not there. I was kind of cringing a little bit during that whole scene. Like it doesn't work for me. But you felt the same way about that scene specifically?
Yeah, that scene it stood out as odd with the rest of the movie. Now, what's funny is leading up to that, it was fine. That scene was awkward, and the scene after it was fine. It's like what, could you have worked on it a little bit harder, or maybe gotten rid of it, or you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
The flow was not there. That's for sure.
And you'll find that throughout this movie. Like another example I'd throw to is like the romance that's going on with Zach,
Yeah.
and I keep forgetting her name. That's terrible.
Francesca.
But yeah, like it does a good job of, she doesn't really like him at first, and he kind of puts on the charm a little bit, and you can see that kind of developing where, okay, now she's starting to kind of take a liking to him. He drops her off, goes back home, and that's where they break into his house, and then he rushes back. And she just almost acts like nothing happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt there was a disconnect there. And that's where you're saying maybe the writers didn't keep that momentum. I can't explain any other way. It was just really clunky. So that's another one I would use is just, man, I wish they would have just ironed that out. It was obviously off as you're watching it from start to finish. It just didn't have a flow consistently. At times they're great, but then others, you just kind of, it pulled you back a little bit, especially I would say since with my kids, they're not a big fan of romance. And it's like, if you're going to do it, you need to do it the right way. So that's another one I would kind of point out. But any other scenes or quotes, those types of things to throw in?
I got a couple quotes and a scene I want to talk about. First, the quote that I really enjoyed out of this movie was, "I love my country. Now give me the watch so I can go to Costa Rica."
I laughed out loud at that one. That was a good one.
I love that. And it's so them. Like they pull it off so well. I don't know. There's something about that was part of the getaway, right? With the van or whatever.
Yeah, like he's trying to get the watch from Zach, I think, and he's got like he got the dump truck or something. I think that's when that happened. So he's like,
it might have been. Yeah, it might have been that scene. That
scene was rush to escape, it's a little line you might blink and miss it, but it's really clever. Yeah.
And then they're looking for they got to get parts for the watch, and he goes, he's like, you can't find these at Radio Shack, and I just love the Radio Shack line because it puts me back in the mind of my childhood when Radio Shack was like the place to go if you needed like tech, you know what I mean? And I just, it dated the movie, but it felt great.
It did. That's what I'll really give praise to this movie. It does that. Like you said, you hear Radio Shack, you think malls, you think its own shop, like you said, places you would go to. You just don't see that as much. Everything's just ordered online, but you still have that like memory, that charm from that time period. So I love those. Yeah, when they throw it around. I liked just a random quote to throw in there. He's trying to get the money for the car, and his sister needs money. So she asks him for money, and he goes, buy a car, give money to Satan. If you have siblings, you're just teasing, funny. So you felt that like sibling clashing going on. It's just so out there of a quote. Like I wasn't expecting it. That's probably why I chuckled at it too.
I love it.
But yeah, any other scenes or things you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. So there's a scene I loved where they learn how to use the watch, and Francesca runs her fingers through the water. It shows them bonding and beginning to have fun together. It reveals the power of the watch as well. And it just was very well executed. I think that's one of the scenes you were talking about where the CGI actually worked. Like that actually, when she's moving the water droplets, that looked amazing, especially for 2002. That was really well done. They probably spent most of the budget on that.
You're probably right, because that's what I remember from trailers. I faintly remember trailers, and that's one they really put emphasis on. Yeah. And like you said, it is really good. So I would too. If I was in charge of putting the trailers together, I'd be like, we need to put that scene out there. It's just a shame that they didn't have consistency. It didn't need to be amazing like that, but the drop off was just like, you got that scene where it still holds up today. I would say it's not going to blow you away today, but it's still like, that's pretty good. To like, oh, that was kind of bad. I wish they would have just, not like you said, maybe they put all the budget into like 2 scenes and then the rest they kind of rush through, but who knows? It's one of those what if questions, you can always think about. Okay. Well, you were talking about some possible fun facts and stuff. I'm really interested. Again, this is a Nickelodeon production, so let's hear it.
All right. You're going to love these. So I've got a couple fun facts this time. The first one, this is the first feature film directed by Jonathan Frakes that was not in the Star Trek franchise.
Okay.
So I thought he did a really good job. That's a big, gigantic budget to come from, and then to go to this is, not quite the same. And you're spending different things on that budget. And so I think he did a good job. I really enjoyed the directing style of the film. There was a few scenes I would have cut out, but it's not the director's fault by any means. It's probably production, like in overseeing it with the Nickelodeon, chairman or whatever that wanted certain scenes in the movie. But I thought he did a good job. What did you think?
I thought so too. Like, and especially with the sci-fi element, with time stopping, I could see this as maybe one I wouldn't know if he would seek it out, but maybe when it came across, he was like, yeah, that would be a different take to try out. And I agree, he had a good direction of it. I have no gripes with like the style. It kind of has a unique style to it. So that makes a lot of sense though, when you're saying like his, where he's coming from, going to this, it feels like it was something he wanted to do. Like it was up his alley.
And the second one I've got is that the actress playing Francesca was actually 27. In the role, she was 17.
That's Hollywood, man. How many of these actors are like almost 30 years old, but they're in a high school? What was that? I'm thinking of a TV show, and it's a meme now where it's set in a high school, and there's a guy at a locker, so it shows the back of his head, and he's bald. He's looking like it's like, come on, Hollywood. You can. She did a great job. Do not get me wrong. So I'm sure she impressed them with her acting and stuff, but it's like, if it wasn't that she looked younger, it's like, come on, get someone that's a little closer to the age. So I just shake my head about that.
She did a great job. She had a lot of dialogue, and I thought it was very well executed. Probably one of the highlights of the film was her interjections and things, and I liked that. So that was nice.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so it's time for our fun fact trivia question. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. I hope I don't get slimed on this one.
I'm making another true or false. So true or false.
Okay.
And I'm thinking you'll get this one. So was this the first Nickelodeon movie to be credited as a Nickelodeon Movies production? True or false?
Because Harriet the Spy was the first one that was Nickelodeon, but it wasn't called possibly Nickelodeon Movies. I was thinking to myself, it looks different. So I'm going to say true because I think they changed it.
You got it. True.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, they called it it was credited as a Nickelodeon movie production. Whereas I think before it was like Nickelodeon Movies or Nickelodeon Productions, and they added the extra word.
That's
you I didn't do my research on it, so I hope that's right. But that's what I found.
You almost got me there because I'm like, this was not the first Nickelodeon. That's why I'm sure you phrased it that way, because this wasn't the first one, but something was telling me, I think it was, like you said, something like Productions or Nickelodeon Studios.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something telling me. My gut was telling me that it was. So, all right.
Good
You didn't stop me this time.
Good job.
But thank you. I don't know what it is about the season. I'm doing much, much better than last season. That's for sure. Still tricky questions, though. So, I don't know. We'll see if I can keep it going.
I think you will. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, before we get to our rating, we like to look around the net. We like to see what kind of thoughts are out there. So, Seth, what kind of reviews are you seeing?
All right. So the first review is not the Chris Brown, but it's Chris Brown 6453, who says, an awesome break from reality, 8 out of 10.
A very solid rating there. Yeah. I mean, that is true. It's kind of a different, again, like we were talking about, the unique concept is kind of different. It does have its cliche cheesiness like we talked about, but it's still unique. So that's a solid one.
Yeah. And the next one is Sunny-22 said, good idea, weak movie, 5 out of 10.
Okay. Right in the middle. I think 5 is, you're saying it's about average, but I can't help but agree with that. Like we were talking about, just the execution, it did fall flat at times, but you can't knock the concept and story. It's a really cool concept.
Okay, so I think we've had this one on before, so I'm coming back with this one. Odd Job 99 says, okay film for one-time viewing, 5 out of 10.
Okay, so another 5 out of 10 there. So I kind of can see that. Like if you don't really have the nostalgia, that might be the case for some that when they're coming back to again, 2002, this is 20 plus years ago, but some elements hold up, some don't.
Some things that we don't talk about very often is that like late teen movies.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an awkward setting for a family movie because you're looking for like a kid's movie or like an adult movie, and this is right in the middle. And they don't always jive very well. And I feel like that had a little bit to do with it. Do you think that too?
You're probably right. I think that's a really hard way to capture that because you're trying to appeal to, I agree with you. This is more like your teen because obviously he's in like high school. I would say that I think they might even mention it's high school, but it gives you that impression. And he's obviously got this love interest and he's trying to get a car. So that would appeal more to your late teens, but that can come with a lot of different things. That's not always family friendly if you don't execute it the right way, I should say.
Yeah.
So that is a very big challenge. I tip my cap to ones that even tried to go that way, because I would be like, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to go that way. But yeah, that gives us a little idea of what's out there on the thoughts. So thank you for sharing those reviews. But we also like to look at the kid test. So again, this was a Nickelodeon Movies production. I have 4 children, 5 total actually, but 1 is a newborn, so we don't count him. But the other 4, we'd like to just see what their reactions are. So I have a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 6, and a 3. I'll just say, for the most part, they didn't hate it, but they weren't really into it. And that goes back to what you were saying about the teen. I think if they're a little older, they're probably going to get into it more. But my oldest, he didn't like it. He's at that stage where he doesn't like the romance, and he's just like, ew. So that kind of comes with it. That was kind of an uphill battle for him. My 8-year-old said it was okay. He actually gave it a rating of watch it at grandma's. So he seemed to enjoy it at times. There's some funny, kind of like fart burp jokes. That's what they love right now. There's a few of those kind of jokes. So I think overall they didn't love it, but they didn't, outside of my oldest, really hate it. They were just kind of in the middle, like it was okay. And that was the same with my 6-year-old and 3-year-old. He was just kind of distracted with stuff. That's how he is. If it's not animals or things like that. So maybe a fair warning if you have kids, maybe if they're a little older, they'll appreciate it. But it's hard to say. Maybe they'll get into the sci-fi element of it, especially if kids like time travel. They might be able to enjoy it. All right. Well, let's get down to it. It is that time to give our official rating. So I'm going to start with you, Seth, and ask you the question for Clockstoppers. How are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
All right. So as I alluded to, I liked it a lot more when I was younger. So honestly, I'm not really sure if it truly held up. But that being said, I'm going to watch this at grandma's, hoping to revisit someday.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I really wanted to like this one. Like, I think this is awesome because I really like that concept. We keep saying it over and over again. We're kind of a broken record, but it is fun. Just thinking to yourself, if I had a watch and I could stop time, the possibilities. I mean, a lot of people think probably you're going a little too far on stuff, but to me, it's like, I don't have to feel rushed as an adult. For me, it's still a cool concept, especially for kids. But as an adult, you're like, yeah, that's a really cool concept. So that's why I have to stress the story. It appeals to everybody. I think everybody can enjoy that story. But there were some things that, like you said, it just did not age well. It was kind of unfortunate because it was like right when I was starting to get into it, I get pulled back out. So it was this start, stop kind of roller coaster ride. If you're going down the hill and you're like, yay, and then it just hits the brakes all of a sudden. That's maybe an extreme way of describing it, but that's how it kind of felt at times. Okay. So I was on the fence on this one, to be honest with you, because the other thing was it wasn't a lot, but there were times where, like you're saying, the late teens ideas, he's trying to swim with her. There's the friend he's talking about, like, I don't know if he actually said it, but it was like, I went like be with naked girls. And I was like, whoa, it was a little, not like in your face, but if you're paying attention, it was definitely not, I would say family friendly. That was times where if I'm watching it with my grandma, she would gasp a little bit. So I actually was back and forth. I respectfully am going to give this a hide it in the attic for the reason that I don't think I'm going to come back to it and watch it from start to finish. I recommend it. I would probably say, watch it for yourself, see what you think. But for me and my taste, I don't know. I was a little jarred at times. I wish there's just a little bit more consistency. I probably have it as a watch it at grandma's. It was really close. But overall, for now, I'm going to respectfully put it as a hide it in the attic as my rating.
All right.
So there you go, folks. Another movie in the books. This was so much fun, capturing that nostalgia of Nickelodeon days. Oh, take me back. I wish I could go back to those times. Those were just being a kid again. That's something that's so great about Nickelodeon. And it was a lot of fun to revisit. But before we go and wrap things up, Seth, why don't you tell the good people where they can find and connect with us?
You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram at Movies at Grandma's House, and on TikTok at LADX Media. Feel free to email us movie suggestions, memories, comments to moviesatgrandmashouse@gmail.com. We have an excellent newsletter, so check that out, as well as a revamped Patreon with exclusive content for our loyal fans. And as always, we are brought to you by movieposters.com, so please use code Grandma's House, that's all one word, at checkout for up to 15% off.
That's it. Yeah. Be sure you're on our newsletter. We love to give away the free poster from movieposters.com. All you got to do is be on the newsletter. We're having so much fun behind the scenes. We're doing a lot of bonus content. So if you want to support the podcast, also check us out on Patreon, like Seth said. All those links will be in the description, but be sure to follow those links that Seth brought out. if you want to be a follower, join in on the fun and the community. Well, that's going to do it for our time at Grandma's house, but don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.